It is September 4th, 2017. It's a Monday, and it's time for your weekly video. Labor Day weekend here in the United States. I got my hush puppies on. I guess I was never meant for glitter rock and roll. Going to try a new setup today. Hopefully that this works a little bit rather than kind of sitting down and leaning forward with the records. I'm going to show it this way. So these are going to be the rest. We've made it to the end of the 100 records that I had purchased, 101 records I purchased a couple weeks ago. Still have the classical stuff. I'm not going to show that because I know not everybody is really into that. Obviously, put a comment down in the box if it's something you want to see. There's probably about 20 records that are from that genre, if you will. So I'll kind of get into the rest is just sort of odds and ends. So some of the stuff that could have gone in videos that I showed previously, some of them, kind of unclassifiable. So it's going to be kind of an interesting video, but there's some stuff that you can definitely latch onto. So let's get into the record, shall we? So I'm going to start with a couple here from the Nashville Starday King record kind of thing. We talked about that a few videos ago. So I'm going to show a couple more that I have here. So the first is this one, Bill Clifton. How we doing? Does this look okay? Bill Clifton, Bluegrass in the American Tradition. This was $1. Of course, this is on the Nashville label. So again, just I think I mentioned before, they usually did 12 tracks, and that was all that they would do. And this was sort of, this was like their budget line of kind of the greatest hits, kind of an introduction to artists. Another thing to look out for, and I didn't talk about this in the other video, but the Power Pack label. This is it basically was the same thing. This was they sort of did the Nashville and the Starday. This is basically after the label, I believe, was sold. So, but this one is the Stanley Brothers in person. It's the exact same track listing as the same one that looks. There's one that was released this way, I believe, on King. Same exact track listing. Of course, the back, they're just trying to sell their albums instead. But just great stuff. The Stanley Brothers speak for themselves. I don't really need to talk too much about them. Here's another one. This is on Gusto. So Gusto was another label that sort of was after King, kind of, sort of went its own way. The King Federal, Power Pack, all those subsidiary labels of them. But this is all sort of just a compilation of country gospel from artists that were on Starday. It's just super clean. $1 for that one, so it's a great score. Another one this is on the Starday for $1. I found a ton of these Starday records, and I think I showed maybe like 20 in the previous video. I have a ton of these, and I'm going to go through and I'll show you a complete collection at some point or the other. So, All Day Singing and Dinner on the Ground, the Lewis Family, sort of more gospel kind of stuff here, but this is great music, American music right here. So. It's just fantastic. You can see they got some fried chicken there on the bottom there. So seems like a good time for sure. All right, so here's another one. This is up in the 400s. So this was sort of right before the label sort of kind of ended its run. But this is George Morgan, the incomparable Candy Kisses. I really haven't listened to this one, so I'm not sure how this one actually is. And sort of the last one for the kind of the bluegrass country kind of thing. This is Shorty and Dolly Long, Sweeter Than Flowers. So those who train spot will probably know that Shorty Long played piano on some Elvis records way back when, in the 78 era. He also was with I believe it's the Santa Fe Rangers. This is with the Blue Ridge Quartet. I see these records a lot because they were kind of local. They were sort of in the tri-state area. But this is just really good. There's songs like I'll Fly Away on here, Beyond the Sunset, In the Garden, the Bible. So there's some great tunes on this one. So this is really, sort of the hand clapping sort of gospel music. Really cool stuff for that. $1 or $2 for that one. I know I talked about this in videos past, but All Singing, All Rockin'. So these are like the Warner Brothers loss leaders. If you come across these are usually worth picking up. Some of the earlier ones, maybe the first 3 or 4 of them that they did, they have like Zappa and Hendrix and the Grateful Dead and stuff like that. This is sort of right before the end of sort of that era. I want to say this is like from 1972 or 3. But there's like Chip Taylor, Jethro Tull's on here, the Mothers are on here, Uriah Heep, Robin Trower, Gene Parsons, the Doobie Brothers. It's just some great stuff from this. So these are really cool if you come across them. So here's another one. This is just an upgrade copy for me. The Chambers Brothers, Time Has Come. This was $3 for that one, and on the 2i Columbia. So probably the quintessential album from the Chambers Brothers. Listen to the Sidelong Time. This was only $1. I couldn't pass this up, but Steve Miller Band, Book of Dreams. Not exactly the biggest Steve Miller Band fan. This is actually the second Steve Miller Band album that I picked up on that trip. But of course, Jungle Love's on here, Jet Airliner. So there's some fun tunes on this. This is sort of the companion piece to Fly Like an Eagle for the later Steve Miller time frame. All right, so one classical record that I'm going to show, because this is actually on the Everest label. So Everest, of course, they put out some stuff. There's like Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly and things like that you can get. But this is Wilhelm Furtwängler, I guess we'll say. Wagner, because that's the Wilhelm Furtwängler. Anyhow, this is the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which I have a rule for when I'm picking up these records. If I find them for $1 to $3, there's a couple different rules that I will pick up, especially the Ninth Symphony. Obviously I've listened to that quite a bit. This is actually, in a historical standpoint, this was recorded during sort of the Nazi occupation of Germany. This was the Beethoven's Ninth was only played, I believe, twice, and once was for Hitler's birthday, and the other was this one. So this was the one that was recorded. The other one, I think there's video recording of it, but I think this was maybe this was the only one that was like the audio was recorded on it. I may be wrong about that, but still kind of a historical thing, a musical kind of chestnut, if you will. So it was pretty cool to find that. I thought that was just interesting. There's a lot of history involved in it. All right, so 2 again. These are another ones that my if I go to the thrift store, there's certain records that I'll pick up if they meet certain criteria. So this was 2 here. So there was $2 for this. So a little bit of an exception, but super clean copy. Of course, these are the ones from the Gay 90s Village, which is all sort of this guy that had all this collection of all these weird calliope instruments and things like that. This is fantastic Honky Tonk Player Barroom Piano. There's that one. And I also got this, which is The Emperor and His Harem. It says this was, someone on the back there actually wrote that they purchased it in St. Louis, Missouri. So, which would lead me to believe that they may have purchased it from the Gay 90s Village, which is in Sikeston, Missouri. So very cool stuff. And some privately pressed goodies. This is called A Little Help from Home, Robert Couch and Stormy Warning. This isn't really that good. I took a chance on it. It was $3. At best, it sounds like a Leonard Skinner doing their ballad kind of things. At worst, it just is very bad country music. So there are a few songs on here that are really good, and there's some on here that are just really bad. But just thought that I would show that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this or trash it. A couple of the tunes I think are worth at least recording for a mixtape or something like that. This one is a great listen. I did a little research on this label, and there's kind of a cool backstory. This is William Ackerman with Passage. Basically, nowadays this would kind of be referred to sort of as like new age music, but this was before it kind of had a label. So It's kind of guitar, sort of minor key, very sort of moody stuff. It's actually really good. I've enjoyed it. So it's all instrumental. It's on the Windham Hill Records label, which I think the last artist to get signed for that has been Jim Brickman. So I think the label has been kind of eaten up by all the big labels at this point. But this is a fun listen. I think it's maybe like his third album. Some of his earlier albums are a little bit harder to find, but I'm kind of on this little American primitive kick, acoustic guitar. William Ackerman is German, but nonetheless, sort of this the very primitive guitar style. And this one, Hal and Andy. This is an absolute terrible album. Feeling Groovy. I couldn't pass it up. It was $1. It was $2, half off, $1. But there's like Feeling Groovy, Shangri-La, Cracklin' Rosie, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, It's Not Unusual, My Way, Kodachrome, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. How could you pass that up? It had potential, but of course these guys, it's pretty much dueling pianos over top of a drum machine, and it is horrendous. So sorry, Hal and Andy. I know I always try to stay neutral. Every record that you find may be somebody's favorite record, but this one is just it's terrible. So, and last but not least, we have Oliver Sane, Bus Stop. This is on the Abbott, ABET 406. This is just like some great sort of like funk music. So very cool kind of. I don't know. It's an interesting. It has an interesting kind of feel to it. From 1974, and it says copyright Nash Burroughs. So I'm not really too sure what that is, but there was some just great kind of funky sort of soul music on this record. So really good. There's Bus Stop going back to Memphis. Booty Bumpin', the double bump. So Blowin' for Love and Soul Serenade. Excellent stuff. So only fitting, right? So, but that's it for me. And next week we have just some awesome stuff. I'm going to show all my pickups from the Detroit trip. So there's quite a few records in store for you next week. So we'll see you then, and we'll see you on down the trail. Have a great week.